All right, guys, welcome back to another video. So the acquisition of ABK, for a lot of people, including myself, one of the most exciting studios that was coming over in that acquisition to Xbox was Toys for Bob. You just think of the games that they have worked on. If you like 3D platformers, you've liked the Spyro remakes, you've liked Crash Bandicoot. It's a studio that I've enjoyed pretty much all of the games that they have made, or at least most of the games that they have made, and I've liked those games throughout my entire life. A big 3D platforming fan, so hearing that Toys for Bob is coming over to Xbox, I was thinking of all the different things that they could do, especially if you think about like a Banjo-Kazooie. Maybe they would somehow be able to bring that back. And after the acquisition happened a few months later, they decided that they were going to go independent, and Xbox allowed them to go independent, so they were no longer a first-party Xbox studio. Now, a lot of people were worried about what that meant, because it kind of killed the excitement about Toys for Bob and the IPs that they could work on at Xbox. But they going independent, I don't think ever is a bad thing, especially for a studio like this. Well, they'll just be able to be 100% creative. I understand Xbox has done a great job at allowing studios to take on smaller creative projects. We've seen it many times with Pentiment, with Grounded, with Bleeding Edge, with Sea of Thieves. Like, all of those games came out of really nowhere, and they were risks. I don't think anybody predicted that they would be successful. And I mean, they even had a game like Bleeding Edge that just failed right away, but they still allowed these studios to make those games. So I figured Xbox would allow Toys for Bob to do whatever they could do, but there's always that corporate boot that does eventually end up coming down on the studios if the money isn't being made the way that they want it to be made. And now Toys for Bob being independent really won't have to worry about that. But when they did go independent, they did say that they were working on a future partnership here with Xbox going forward, which makes complete sense because Xbox still owned the Spyro IP and the Crash Bandicoot IP, and I'm sure tons of IPs that they would have wanted to work on. And now it looks like that they have reached an agreement here with Toys for Bob for their new game. So this here is from Windows Central and being reported by Jez Corden, saying Microsoft finally finished its blockbuster acquisition of Activision Blizzard King a few months ago, giving the firm control over mega franchises like Call of Duty, Candy Crush, and World of Warcraft. As a part of the acquisition, Microsoft also snapped up a ton of other studios and franchises, including Activision game series like Guitar Hero, Skylanders, and many more. In yesteryear, the legendary team at Toys for Bob were instrumental in building out Activision's big Skylander franchise, which was insane when that franchise was at the pinnacle, especially all of the toys that people were buying with it. The Toys to Life, where you'd bring it to the game, you would tap it on the little dock or whatever they had, and that character would actually go into the game. That was a huge thing for a while now. I'm pretty sure it's not many people play that anymore. But they also say here that players could buy small figures with NFC chips baked in and then place those characters within these Skylanders via USB peripheral portal. And that's exactly what I was talking about. And they were kind of going up against, I guess, the Nintendo Amiibo stuff there, where the Nintendo Amiibo are still huge. I mean, I still collect the Amiibos, that they're massive, and being able to actually pair those with video game characters that Nintendo has in their games. And then it continues on here and says Toys for Bob also remastered Crash Bandicoot titles, as well as created the fourth installment, Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. However, in recent years during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially, Toys for Bob's were increasingly leaned on by Activision to support the monolithic Call of Duty effort. And that was one of the biggest things when it came to Toys for Bob within Activision, or under Activision, that corporate boot coming down and them having to support and work on Call of Duty, which I think for a lot of people would look at that and say that's not where they are best utilized based off of their previous work. And I'm guessing a lot of people at Toys for Bob probably weren't a big fan of that. So being able to break off, go independent, and even before they made that decision, be purchased by Microsoft and Xbox, probably had some excitement that they wouldn't always have to be forced here to focus on Call of Duty. And it's because Call of Duty makes all of the money. So that's why they were forced to be focusing on them. It says here, sources have indicated to me previously that Toys for Bob's culture didn't gel well with Activision's off restrictive corporate mandates, and they were excited for the opportunity to spin out as independent in agreement with Microsoft. When they initially spun out, they released a statement indicating that they were confident they would work with Activision and Xbox in the future, and that they were exploring a possible partnership. And now seems those talks have bared fruit. So exciting stuff there. During a recent town hall meeting described to us by sources familiar with the event, a staffer asked panelists about Toys for Bob, given that they're now going independent, separate from Microsoft and Activision. And Toys for Bob's leadership was adamant about keeping the team together and also about returning to the style of game the studio is known for. Again, very exciting because now they don't have to worry about Call of Duty. They can take all of their creative ideas and make a game that they're known for. Make an awesome 3D platformer and just put out something either brand new or work on some IPs that they've previously created and worked on, like the Spyros and the Crashes. They say Microsoft referenced how they spun out Twisted Pixel in the past as an alternative option to shuttering studios. And that's another thing, is that I think a very positive thing about them going independent is we've been seeing all of the closures, all of the layoffs, all of the IP cancellations across the industry throughout the beginning of 2024. And there were major layoffs at Xbox as well, at Microsoft as well, after the Activision Blizzard merger was finalized. Some of it redundancy and some of it obviously just cutting people, because that's just the way that the industry has been going. People have been being laid off. I personally think right now, with everything that has happened, it's a result of the greed over the COVID pandemic, where the studios and the publishers saw everybody was at home. They decided to try to capitalize that, overhired, and now the industry is kind of just getting back to normal. I don't think it's like a video game crash or anything that some people have been insinuating and saying. So Toys for Bob potentially at some point could have just been a victim of more layoffs, could have been a victim of potentially being closed down, but instead going independent saves them from that, at least saves them from being forced into those situations by a corporation. They say here, Matt Booty, now leading Xbox's game content division, reportedly said that an agreement has now been reached between Xbox and Toys for Bob for their first game as an independent studio. However, he stopped short of describing exactly what it will be, although he did say something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, it will be similar to games Toys for Bob has made in the past, which is phenomenal to hear. Toys for Bob may be independent, but the fact that they told fans to keep their horns on could be a reference to Spyro the Dragon. And that's what I originally thought when they put out that statement with that keep their horns on. I was thinking they're probably still going to be working with Xbox. They have the Spyro IP, so maybe we're going to be getting a brand new Spyro game, which is something I would love to see. And we don't know yet. We don't know what game it'll be. Maybe it could also be Banjo-Kazooie. Who knows? Maybe they're partnering with bringing that franchise back. But this is exciting. It is official. They have an agreement here for their next game. Now we just got to sit back, wait and see what that next game will be. But if you're a Toys for Bob fan, you're an Xbox fan, it's going to be pretty cool when they eventually do show this off. Maybe it's something we get at the summer showcase. And I guess the other question here is, with this partnership, does this mean Game Pass, or does this mean just Xbox is funding this and it's going to be multi-platform and it's going to be everywhere that you can play games? Because as we know, that's kind of something that's going to be up in the air now, always asked whenever these things do happen with Xbox putting their games over onto PlayStation. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens here with Toys for Bob's first game since going independent. A great studio, so I'm hoping the best for it. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.